All right, in the next couple minutes, I'm gonna show you the brands tool here at Smart Scout. What this is gonna allow you to do is find new brands to work with, help you find profitable product opportunities, and really just help you make more money than anything else on the market right now. So without the brands tool, sometimes that's a process that can take a little bit of time. So today we're gonna show you how you can use the brand tool to identify brands that are willing to work with wholesalers just like you so that you don't waste your time reaching out to brands. So let's dive in. The first filter we're gonna look at is the Amazon in-stock rate. And this is a filter that confuses a lot of new sellers because they think of this like you would think of whether something's in or out of stock at Walmart. But this filter isn't so much, is this product in stock or is it out of stock? What this filter is a reflection of is how often over the last 90 days has Amazon as a seller been selling this brand's products. So what this is gonna indicate to us is how much competition you're gonna have with Amazon when selling this brand's products. And because Amazon owns the platform, we really don't wanna be competing with them. So we're gonna set the Amazon in-stock rate filter to a maximum of 10. The next filter we're gonna look at is the average number of FBA sellers. And this is an average number of sellers per product in this brand's catalog. Typically, a good rule of thumb is to look for brands that have between 2 and 10 FBA sellers per product. The reason why we're gonna put 2 at a minimum is because that'll help us get rid of brands that are private label sellers or they have an exclusive relationship with a partner already. Because that's the whole idea. We want to get rid of brands that already have an exclusive relationship with some seller, whatever that relationship may be. The reason we're going to put 10 at a maximum is just because we don't want to be reaching out to brands that are super, super high competition and are oversaturated. The next filter we're going to look at is the dominant sellers filter. What this filter is going to tell us is what seller does the highest sales percentage for this brand. Every brand has a dominant seller. Typically, as a wholesaler, the only time the dominant seller is going to be a problem is when they're doing more than about 50% of the revenue for a brand, because that's going to indicate to us that there's some sort of existing relationship between the brand and the seller. So when we open up this filter, we'll just set the maximum to 50%, and that way any brands with a dominant seller that does more than 50% of their revenue is going to get taken off of our list. The last filter we're going to look at today is estimated monthly revenue. And this is where things start to get a little bit more subjective to what you want to do as a seller. Some sellers want to work with really big brands. Some sellers want to work with smaller brands. This estimated monthly revenue filter is going to allow you to narrow in on the type of brand you want to work with. Typically, some solid advice that I've heard thrown around is to start at a minimum of $40,000 in monthly revenue. Because that way you know that those brands you're gonna be reaching out to, they do a good amount of revenue, probably good opportunity there. But there's typically a higher end we see with brands that sell on Amazon where they get oversaturated with arbitrage sellers. And so we wanna try to avoid some of those. So we're gonna go ahead and set a maximum of $200,000 a month in monthly revenue. Okay, now that we've plugged in all 4 of those filters, you're gonna see that the list we have is only about 1,000 brands now. So we've gone from 600,000 brands to a list of 1,000 brands that we think might work with us, but there's still a couple of little things that we need to do to identify if a brand is really willing to work with a wholesaler just like us. One last filter that you could use is this primary category filter here. Because our list is still 1,000 brands long, so there's a chance you want to narrow that down. So coming over here to the primary category, you can just go ahead and pick a category that interests you, because at the end of the day, selling in a category that you know well is always going to be better than selling in a category that's completely unfamiliar to you. So let's go ahead and pick pet supplies. Now that we've niched down into pet supplies, the list of brands we have to look at is about 32 brands long. So realistically, we could look through this in a day, and by the end of the day, we're gonna be able to tell whether these brands are gonna be willing to work with us or not. So a few little things that we have to do here is we have to verify that these brands work with wholesalers and that this is a good opportunity. So what we're gonna do to do that, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna hover over the brand name, And we're gonna go ahead and click on the magnifying glass that is right next to this brand's name to open up this drop-down menu. And then from this menu, we can navigate to these other tools right here, but we're gonna start here in the dashboard. The brand's dashboard just gives us an idea of some of the brand's overall health metrics. So what is their monthly revenue? What is their average selling price? What is their brand score? Really, it's just gonna give us it's gonna help us put our finger on a pulse of this brand. So one of the first things you're gonna have to do when looking at a brand's details is check out the sellers that are selling this brand, because these sellers that are selling any given brand, if you decide you want to sell this brand as well, these are the guys that you're going to be competing head to head with. So we kind of want to scout it out beforehand to make sure that these market conditions are good for us to jump into. So for example, here looking at SureFlap sellers, they've got one guy that's doing 24% of the sales. They've got a couple guys doing 12% of the sales. Then they've got some guys at 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 2, and then a bunch of guys at 1% or less than 1%. If that's something that is appealing to you and you like that, then this could be a great opportunity to jump in. An example of something that we wouldn't want to see is 2 sellers that are doing 40% of the sales each, and then 30 other sellers that are fighting for that last 20%. The next thing we need to do is just come over here and take a look at all of the different products that this brand is selling, because occasionally when looking at products, we're gonna see 2 or 3 products that do all of the revenue for a given brand, but the other products in their catalog might not be pushing the needle all that much. And if that's the case, maybe that might not be a brand to look into. But it looks like this brand specifically, they've got a couple products doing over $10,000 in revenue a month. After that, it kind of starts to slow down a little bit. From here, we can also even check out how many units a month they're selling as well as the number of sellers. And just a little pro tip, every time you see one of these purple bars right here, it's just another list of filters that you can use to narrow down your searches. So if we wanted to look for products in this brand's catalog that have less than 10 sellers, we can go ahead and plug that in. Let's say we only want to look at products that are in the top 60,000 or that have a sales rank within the top 60,000. We can go ahead and we can plug that in as well. And let's say we want to look for products that do a minimum of $5,000 a month in revenue. After we've plugged in all of those filters, we've got about 4 products that we think could be winners. They all do a decent amount of units sold. And then over here, we can even look at buy box equity. When buy box equity is just showing us if we were to hop on this listing a month ago, how many units might we have sold if our price had been consistent with what the price has been over the last 30 days. So what do you guys think? Was this process faster than how you're currently finding brands and products to sell? When we first started, we were looking at over 600,000 different brands on Amazon, but in the matter of a couple of minutes, we've found 4 really good product opportunities that have the potential to be very profitable for us. So now it's your turn. Go hop into Smart Scout, load up your brand tool, and start finding opportunities that make you excited to start selling today.